Hello, my Facebook and YouTube family. How you doing tonight? Saturday night, and we have so much going on in our country today. I hope you heard the broadcast I did last week about the riots and everything, but well, I guess the insurrection. It was treasonous to me, but we got another week coming up, and the 20th will be here soon. I guess in 4 more days, and everyone is waiting to see what's going to go down. I mean, we don't know if the country is gearing up for another showdown. We don't know what's going to happen. I know here in Georgia, they have an army tank that's in front of the Capitol ready for anything. Up in Washington, it's like a fortress. So I don't think anything is going to happen there. It's just so much. I mean, they said that in 50 states, something's going to happen. I don't know. I sure hope not, because if people was planning something and now that everybody is waiting for it, I would hope that they either change their mind, but you never know. But the interesting thing is that it just amazes me how America, since we've seen this insurrection unfold, right in front of our face, in front of the TV, are we really surprised? I mean, really, the whole 4 years that Trump took office, and really before Trump took office, the handwriting was really on the wall. I mean, for me, it started when, Obama was in office. He was the main one who was questioning, is he legal? Is he even American? He was born in Hawaii. I think even one time he said Hawaii wasn't a state. I mean, that's been, if you think about it, I mean, America tried to act like everything is okay and it's no racism. Like I say, America the beautiful. Everything is all right, but it never been all right. It's just I think America been tone deaf of racism. They've been tone deaf of, the disparities. They just, America just don't want to know. The government don't want to know what's happening. As long as everything is going all right, they just never know, because the handwriting always been on the wall. When Obama came in, he was the first, black president, even though, we know he's mixed. They consider in this country, if you got a speck, I mean, I guess if you got a black ancestry, even 5 generations gone, they still consider you black. That's a problem right there. I mean, we just can't be people. It's like a stain put on you if you got any kind of blackness in your bloodline. But the reality is, and I'm just going to say this is off the subject. The reality is, scientists have proved that, mankind came from the continent of Africa, all mankind. So, I mean, in reality, all of us got the same thing in us, but, going back to say how America has put colorism to the forefront. You have never seen before Obama a president being questioned of where he's born at, and is he fit to serve office because where he's born at. And Trump did that back in what 2011 when Trump was in office. So, racism has always been to the forefront. He started it back then. I mean, what's happening today been growing, and growing. He had followers sitting up there calling Obama Hussein, which I seen recently. He called Obama Hussein, Barack Hussein Obama, or whatever he said. But he tried to say it in a derogatory way. We have never seen that before. It was so much disrespect given to Obama, and it was only colorism. So, really, politicians and everyone should have seen this coming down the line, how Trump was getting these followers that will believe anything that he says, and really, we know it stemmed from because Obama had color into him. But, he was saying these things, getting, I guess, appealing to people's anger, because it's been a while that, like I say, this is a country that accepts everyone in. So we have a lot of minorities from different colors: black, brown, yellow, Asian, all kind of people. The white men has been dwindling away as far as power, for what they see it. So he knew how to capitalize on that. And that's where all this stemmed from. And, I was shocked. I was looking at TV the other day, and I was shocked that, okay, the Republicans are really fighting really hard for his cause, saying, well, he didn't mean it. We don't know why these people came to the Capitol, just trying to act like they didn't see anything, even though I can't understand it, because they were the main ones in the Capitol. Okay, even if these people wanted to kill Democrats, I mean, Republicans could have got killed too, and they was out for Mike Pence. In fact, I got an article, a video showing how close they came to Mike Pence. I'm gonna show it to you. And thanks for chatting with CC. I forgot to say that. Of course, if you want to comment in between, you're always free to just jump in and put a comment on YouTube. But I'm going to show you that how close they came to Mike Pence. And even though their lives was in danger, they still stand behind this man and cover for him. Why? I don't know. What he got on him, I don't know. I mean, I know they say that some Republicans is in fear for their life, or and I know the officials in Georgia have been threatened. But you in politics, I mean, that comes along with the territory. You just can't let mob rule win. But anyway, I'm gonna show you how really Pence was thrown under the bus and how close he was to get Pence. And Pence didn't want to take the 25th Amendment. I don't understand. Maybe. I'm back. I'm sorry. Okay. Let me go back and show you this. These buttons are close together. Okay, I'm going to show you my screen. Okay, listen to this for a minute.
President, his wife and daughter were just seconds away from being spotted, according to the Washington Post. At one point, they were hiding less than 100 feet from the violent crowd, attacking police officers, journalists, and others. The timeline tells how it happened. Just before 1 o'clock, President Trump demands Pence toss the election results.
Mike Pence, I hope you're going to stand up for the good of our Constitution and for the good of our country. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I will tell you right now. I'm not hearing good stories.
The Senate will now retire to its chamber. Pence has no legal power to reject the vote. But in little more than an hour, as he leads Congress in certifying the vote for Joe Biden, the Trump crowd is hammering through Capitol barricades. Inside,
we have been told by Capitol Police that the Capitol is in lockdown.
Outside, by 2:11, the mob smashes into the building. Moments later, the Post says Pence is hustled out of the chamber.
And will stand in recess until the call of the chair.
Boss, protesters are in the building. Thank you.
2:14. Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman is single-handedly slowing the surge of rioters, some shouting, "Where's Mike Pence?" Based on the Post reporting, the few seconds Goodman buys keeps the mob from seeing Pence and his family being hurried into hiding in an office. Goodman lures the crowd toward other officers, likely giving other lawmakers time to escape too. Soon after, the violent mob seizes the Senate floor anyway, taking the very seat the vice president occupied minutes earlier. And President Trump, during all of this, he was watching events unfold on TV, according to many witnesses, taking no action for hours to stop the attack. And tweeting at 2:24, Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done. It was later deleted. Of course, Pence later came back to the chamber.
Okay. So we see how he threw his own party under the bus. But yet, the Republicans got up during the impeachment, and 10 of them voted to impeach him. The rest of them was still behind this man. Why? I don't know. You know, it's just hard to figure out. But and the thing about it, let's go back to 2011, 2012. Like I said, when he first started disrespecting Obama, you know, he started building up this base where, you know, people were saying, well, where Obama came from, you know, even though they know Hawaii is a state. You still had people that, you know, I don't know where their head is at, was still saying, well, I don't think he's American. I don't think he's fit to be president, you know, and really that's just another way of saying they just didn't want nobody of color as president. But, you know, he started building a momentum at that time of followers that he was working on, you know, the racism. You know, he's charismatic as far as, you know, working on people's, whatever they, you know, it's I don't know how you call it, but it's just something that someone with charisma has, that they could tune in to the hatred and what's people passionate about and just get them to follow him. I don't care if they follow him into an ocean. You know, I hate to say this, but you see sometimes preachers are like this. You know, you have some church members and what they call cults. Cult leaders are like this. They have so much charisma, and they could just talk anybody out of anything. And I hate to say it, you know, our president has that power. In fact, one of our listeners, let's see what he wrote. President is a cult. Okay. Well, you know, it says, how come Eugene Goodman haven't got a medal or nothing? And, you know, he is going to get a medal. I did hear that he is going to get a medal because the door that was open, he knew that was the quick way into the chamber. And he knew that they could get in there. So he ran up the steps, you know, running away from him to kind of distract them, to give the police enough time to secure that door. And they did recognize that, because I heard on TV that he will get recognized for that. Okay. Yeah. I heard too that he was going to get recognized for that. But let me go back to, and thank you for your comments, but let me go back to, they knew all the time that this man was a dangerous man, and they know now, but I don't know for the life of me. And maybe you Republicans out there, you know, I always welcome a different opinion. If you want to come on and tell me what you believe and why you believe Trump lost the election or he won the election and why you want to fight for him, I would love to hear it. But let me show you another tape that I pulled up to show you that the Republicans know what they're dealing with. But why they don't want to go against him, I don't know. But I'm gonna show you this other clip, and it's just unbelievable. Wait a minute. Okay.
Over that electing Donald Trump would be bad for America. There are even people who predicted this moment in American history that we now find ourselves in. These people are Republicans.
I will not stop until we fight a man that chooses not to disavow the KKK. That is not a part of our party. That's not who we want as president. We will not allow that in our country.
I'm thinking, how did we get the race for the most important office in the free world to sink to such depths? And how could anyone in my party think that this clown is fit to be president?
He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. You know how you make America great again? Tell Donald Trump to go to hell.
To me, a racist statement's a racist statement. I don't like what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump has shown himself to be a showman. I don't think he's a serious candidate.
You, sir, are the distraction. Your conduct, sir, is the distraction, Mr. Trump. That I respectfully ask you, with all due respect, to step aside, step down, allow someone else to carry the banner of these principles.
During anxious times, it can be tempting to follow the siren call of the angriest voices.
I'm out. I can no longer endorse Donald Trump for president.
He doesn't know the difference between truth and lies. He lies practically every word that comes out of his mouth.
We're on the verge of having someone take over the conservative movement in the Republican Party who's a con artist.
I just really believe that the Republican Party has been conned here, and this guy is not a reliable conservative Republican. This is a defining moment for the Republican Party.
That is not who our Republican Party is. That's not who America is.
Donald Trump's candidacy is a cancer on conservatism, and it must be clearly diagnosed, excised, and discarded.
Now, all of those Republicans went on to broadly support or to work for President Trump's administration, ignoring his nods to extremists, acting like they didn't see his tweets, playing whataboutism with liberals instead of acknowledging.
Okay, as you can see, I mean, there it go right there. There it go right there. Especially Ted Cruz. I mean, not only did he say he had a little penis, he also talked about how ugly his wife is. And, you know, still, this man, I mean, he swallowed every fart that Donald Trump put out of his behind. I don't understand it. I mean, if you understand it, I don't know. But, you know, these the same people. I mean, I just don't have no words, you know, and unfortunately, these people are our leaders of the country. You know, they can't even stand up for themselves, you know, and so how could we expect them to stand up for us? It's just unbelievable. And, you know, it brings me back to, you know, people, one time I know I have a friend that she's Jewish, and she asked me, why is more Black people Democrat when the Republican, back a long time ago in Reconstruction era, the Black people was more Republican because, you know, under Abraham Lincoln and stuff, you know, that's when the Civil War and they was fighting for slavery and stuff. And where did it change? And how did it change? And tell you the truth, I'm gonna have to look that up myself because I don't know exactly when it changed, but I do know people, white people in general, they always had the power. In America, it's always been racism I don't care what anybody say. America has more racism than I think any other country, and it's always been there. You know, it doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat. You know, I'm not either one. I'm just independent, but I just vote on how I vote. But you know, racism has always been a part of American culture. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. I don't know where it changed that, but it was interesting because I did some research back in the Reconstruction era, when right after the Civil War, when Black people was mostly Republican. At that time, it's the same thing that's happening now. You know, white men felt like they was losing their power because you know, we all was everybody of color was promised after the Civil War and the Reconstruction era, because you know, we served in the Civil War, we helped fight, we helped the country in so many ways, just like Goodman helped them. What we get out of it, I don't know. Goodman would get a medal, but after that, okay. So, you know, they promised 40 acres and a mule. They promised equality and all of that. But when the white man felt threatened, we all talk about democracy. We fighting to uphold democracy, just like today. But what is democracy? Democracy goes out the window when you feel threatened for your power. So it's like America is tone deaf when it's not in their favor. You know, it's like, okay, we can forget about democracy right now. You know, when it's not in their favor. I mean, that's just how it is. Okay, I'm gonna show you a tape that I found about the Reconstruction era, and it reminds me of similar of what's happening today. But before that, I'm gonna take some comments. Okay, got Ted Cruz, just one of those. Yeah, and I think a lot of these Republicans want to go out for office, and they just don't want to, they just don't have no balls, frankly. You know, they just don't have no balls. But I'm gonna show you how, you know, pretty much, I'm not gonna say just African-American people, because I would say all minorities. You know, to me, the Native Americans been done worst of all, because all of this land belongs to them, all of it, you know. And what did they do? Come put them on little reservations. They promised us stuff and pretty much used our sweat to you know, work the cotton fields and do all the work, but didn't give us jack nothing. So I mean, everybody's been done wrong, and in the name of democracy. But let them tell it it's democracy. What is democracy? I really don't know, because it's really not here. Yeah, I believe that too. I believe that too. So with that saying, I'm going to show you a little bit about, I got two clips I'm going to show you. And I found it interesting, and hopefully you'll find it interesting. And like I say, how we switch from Republican to Democrat, I don't know. But it really doesn't make any difference, because like I say, when it comes down to color, if you ain't white, you just ain't right. So it really doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, or you know, Joe Fufu. They don't care. Okay, so let me go. I think I'm gonna go to this one first, and let me share my screen with you. And I'm not gonna play it all. I'm just gonna show some of it.
Looking at white farmers toiling next to their black neighbors, it was inevitable to wonder if they could transcend superficial differences of color and form alliances based on mutual economic interests.
The post-Reconstruction South is a hard place to be a farmer. The prices for what they're growing are steadily declining, and it's just not clear how you're supposed to make a living. Black farmers are in the same situation as white farmers in this regard. They need what they are growing to be worth more.
The Colored Farmers Alliances did represent a seeking of economic and political power on the part of Black farmers. This was a time in which Black men were losing their political power.
Organizing workers along class lines rather than racial lines was revolutionary, especially in the Jim Crow South. The effects could have transformed the South fundamentally.
They bring together Black people and white people. They said we might be able to mobilize this politically. The Republicans have walked away from Black people at this point. The Democrats seem to have walked away from poor white people.
It was a grassroots movement, a movement of ordinary people that were trying to, in some ways, push back on the political elites, the business elites, social elites.
They would pool their resources and buy things cooperatively and help each other. But the alliances are struggling, and they say, well, just economics isn't going to do. We need political power. So what we want to do is form a people's party. Their detractors call it populist. And they say, oh, all right, we're populist. The Democrats don't like the populists. The Republicans don't like the populists because they're taking voters from both of them. It's the largest third-party challenge in American history.
That's kind of redemption for us in American history, to look back at those moments when we see those broad participatory coalitions happening and to think that's who we are. We are those common struggles to make a better future for ourselves. That's America too.
Black and white people tried to come together, and then they're pit against each other. The Democratic Party, which is the party of white supremacy, had to mobilize and use everything to crush it. They used propaganda, they used beating people up, they used legal means, and they created a culture where poor white people saw themselves as very different from Black people.
Isn't that exactly what we see now? What I told you about how the president used the anger of the white man to say, these people are trying to take your power away from you, to kind of round things up. Because if everyone is equal, you know, they just didn't want it to work. So, like I say, it's just like history repeating itself.
The 15th Amendment had removed race as a barrier to voting, and for the most part, African American men voted Republican. Southern.
I'm sorry.
By the 1890s, Reconstruction had been overthrown, and the Democratic Party was in control in almost every southern state. But in Wilmington, North Carolina, there was still a glimmer of hope.
Wilmington was a port city. In the 1890s, it had a large Black middle class. African American people were succeeding spectacularly, really, in North Carolina.
African Americans had over 100 businesses, including barbershops and other kinds of retail.
There were Black elected officials in North Carolina a bit longer than anywhere else. When the political lights went out almost everywhere in the South, there was still a lot of hope in North Carolina.
An interracial coalition of Republicans and populists.
I wanted to show you this because this shows you, okay, with the populist movement, the Blacks was given a chance, and you know, take race out of it. The Black people was prospering. You know, they was becoming wealthy, and that goes to show you, if given a chance, everyone could prosper at the same time. But you have some individuals that do not want that. They you know, they have to be on top. And the thing about America, they took it away. They took it away. And I'm going to show you a little bit more just to show you how they took it away. And when they took it away, it was nothing basically said. I mean, just nothing from neither party. It just demolished, you know, and like I say, they just turned a blind eye. I hope I can
There are
find
black office holders in Wilmington. These white Southern Democrats feel they have no choice, as they see it, but to rise up and bring justice and order and purity to Wilmington by driving out black people.
On November 10th, 1898, white supremacists saw their opportunity to remove the black leaders and their allies from office by force.
Alfred Waddell, who was a washed-up older man who had been a colonel in the Civil War, leads a mob into the city. Waddell had promised that if the leaders did not surrender, he would choke the Cape Fear River with their bodies. It's a planned execution of the city's black male leadership.
There was a white mob that came out and basically forced the resignation of all the aldermen and the mayor, and then went on a rampage, killing African Americans and any sympathizer. African Americans fought back, but clearly they were overwhelmed.
People were in an absolute panic and fled to the woods. And as they fled along the roads, white people would kill them as they were fleeing. No one knows how many people died.
It was a...
I'm gonna stop that right here because pretty much, I mean, it's an interesting documentary, but pretty much you know where that leads to. And I mean, isn't that a repeat of history? It's a repeat of history. I mean, you know, people nowadays, Nancy Pelosi and all of them, acting shocked. Oh, these insurrectionists, I just can't believe these people. This is American history. It's American history from the time that they took it away from the Native Americans. This has been happening. Mob rules. When you know, I hate to say it, but when white people, you know, they feel like they losing power, they just go kill whoever they want to. I mean, what do we see right now? Cops just shooting black people. Black people never making it to jail. I mean, he looked like he walking away. He looked like he have a gun. You know, black kids that look like they have a gun. Tamir Rice. And you know, just killing people of color left and right, and no accountability. Breonna Taylor. I mean, we could just go down the line. No accountability. I mean, is there any? If y'all could show me, if y'all could tell me any cop, and I hate to say it because there is good cops out there, but cops, you know, they have KKK in the cops, they have KKK in doctors, they have KKK, just like we see the people that was in that mob. They come from every walk of life. Cops, doctors, lawyers, everywhere. You know, but just so happened that if you have a shield, they know, America know that you're going to get off with it. So, I mean, what better way of justifying killing a person of color than standing behind a badge? And that's what's happening today. That's just what happened today. Stay woke, people. Open your eyes. I mean, it's just history repeating itself. And that's another reason why, really, I'm not too keen on, you know, taking away these Confederate statues, because I think just like with Emmett Till's mother, when she wanted that casket open, I think we have to face our ugliness. We need to face the ugliness that America has done, you know, because if you don't know your history, you're liable to repeat it. And if you go back, just like what I showed you with that PBS, you know, blacks was coming in power, blacks was coming in office. That was a threat to them. So what it was, a mob rule, just like we seen another mob rule. You know, so this is nothing new. It's nothing new. It's just that America tend to turn tone deaf and don't want to face it, and they act like this is something new. No, it's not nothing new. They knew, just like I showed you those Republicans that you know talking about he's a dangerous man, he's unfit, but they turn it around when it's convenient. It's always been like that. It's no surprise. It's the same thing, and you know, just like I say, you know, I'm for reparations. You know, because during the Reconstruction era, they promised us stuff, but just as you seen in that video, stuff was taken away, and nobody said anything. Nobody stood up. Nobody stood up for the Black people. You know, nobody stood up for and saying, well, you know, that's wrong. It's a mob. They go kill people. They took off the town. They burned Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was another place in Ohio. It was a place in Florida too that was growing prosperous. They burnt that down. Nobody ever go back and say, well, let's give these people reparations. Let's give these people what we took for them. It's unfair. You know, okay, Biden happened to be a white man. Luckily he is, because probably if this stuff had happened with Obama and Trump, I'm not so for sure they would have approved this election. He probably would have stolen the election, because they would have found some kind of way to twist it and say, well, you know, I mean, how many times we have went through that they could find some way to twist it that it comes out in their favor. But fortunately, Biden is a white man, so you know, it's just sad. It's just sad, and you know, like I said, you know, fortunately, we can see this, you know, and that's why I tell people to always read history. Don't go by just what you see on TV. Don't go by Ice Cube and what he's saying, because he got his own agenda. I mean, Lil Wayne got his own agenda. Everybody may have their own agenda. Don't go by what I say. Read your history books. Go back in history. You know, take some pride back in who you are as a people and what you can do. And you know, and I feel like it's time for everybody to stand up. You know, we got Black people out here, Latinos, gay people. Everybody have a right and deserve to live in America. And not to be snowballed, because, you know, I think some of us, you know, we hear this propaganda, we don't read, we look at TV and all this stuff, and then we get roped into it. Well, maybe we ain't good enough. Maybe they do deserve this. Maybe, you know, they smarter than us. You know, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. You know, read and educate yourself. Read, educate yourself, and look at your history and discover who you are. Don't cover up history. History is ugly, but we need to America needs to come to realize who we are and what kind of country we are and what kind of country we have been. This is nothing new. Nothing new. Now, I don't know what's going to happen on the 20th. I'm sitting back eating my popcorn and going to look too. But like I say, this is nothing new. So, with that said, another thing that I'm gonna bring up is gonna be the last thing I'm gonna bring up for tonight. Okay, just like you seen Mr. Goodman running up the steps, you know, fighting for his life because he could have been shot too. I think he's a DC policeman. Y'all can correct me if he's not. But the subject came up of why isn't DC a state? Now, the Republicans do not want it to be a state, and Democrats is not fighting hard for it either. But why? You know, is it fair for us to call on the DC policemen and the DC to pay taxes and DC to contribute as a country, but yet they don't have no representation? And why don't they have any representation? Is it because they feel like the people that represents DC is not going to go in their favor? I don't know. That's something for you to think about. If you got any comments, just come on and say it. Otherwise, we're going to hold it. We're going to hold it for this. We're going to hold it right here. And we're going to wait to see what happens on the 20th, because you know I'm going to be right here, and I'm going to come on either Friday or Saturday after that, and we're going to talk about it, because whether it goes down peaceful or whether we see another mob stir up, it's something to talk about how American is going to handle this point in history, because this is another mark in history. Anyway, you all have a good night, and thank you for coming to chat with Cece. And I guess the next time we meet, we'll definitely have something to talk about, because we'll have a new president, or either we'll, like I said, we'll have something to talk about either way. Anyway, good night, and thanks for chatting with Cece.